Well, welcome everybody. And if you are here on YouTube Live, thank you for joining us. It is April 18th, 2023, as we're recording this. I have a very special interview today that I'm going to be here with Kathy and Wayne Hicks from Liberty Dollar Financial Association. And in a minute, I'll let them introduce themselves to you and tell you more about why we wanted them here with us today, and really about important stuff we've been talking about. So if you've been following any of my videos that I've been putting out here on my channel, I've been talking about a lot of things that have been going on in the world, kind of where we see ourselves in this day and age. And there's a lot of crazy things going on in the world. Those of you guys just look around and maybe just outside for a day, you'd be like, what is going on in our world? Lots of crazy stuff that's happening in our country, lots of stuff that's happening around the world, and it's concerning a lot of people. So let me just go over a few of those real briefly here. One of the things that's going on, our economy is in a recession. I don't care, what the pundits say or not. We're in a recession. We've been in a recession for a little while now, and it seems like it's getting worse daily. We have issues with inflation. Inflation continues to rise. We see things from everything that we're buying, from food to gas for our cars. Products that we buy normally has gotten so much more expensive, where it actually is our dollar not being able to have the same buying power as it has before. Our income is not keeping up with the increases of this. And some people are actually, laid off from work. They don't have the same kind of jobs, lost work. And so this is a big problem. You heard me say that the dollar is actually declining in value. So, what does that mean? But, we'll go over probably some of that stuff on this call. But one of the things is, the US dollar has been the world currency, has been one of the most heavily traded things for oil, country to country. And that's changing. Countries are dropping that and going to their local national currencies or different currencies, and they're kind of leaving the US dollar. Now, a few weeks ago, banks were having issues. We're having bank collapses that were happening. And, we saw some things happen in San Francisco and Signature Bank, and other banks around the world started falling. And, I think we're on the verge of a financial collapse, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that. But what, all that can could cause issues with our money that we have, all about, do we have, what can we do with it? What else can we have it? Well, we have solutions on this call here today. Whether it comes to the stock market, should we have money in there? Do we trust the stock market? And what's going to happen when the government continues to print all this money? They seem like they paid for all these bailouts, but how are they doing it? They're paying for it by printing more money, which continues to make our dollar value less and less, right? So there's so many things that are going on. Whether it be talk of World War III, lies that have become truth. Truth has become censored. Evil has become the norm and seen as good. People are struggling and they have these concerns. And I have these conversations with people all the time. So many people are living in fear, and we can just go on and talk about that. I just want to give a brief introduction to that, which is why we're here, because we have good news here for you today. And this is why I wanted to bring on Wayne and Kathy, because I came across them a little more than a month ago now, and I was looking for ways that we can protect ourselves against all this craziness that's going on in the world. How we can actually, protect our assets, how we can protect something, anything that could go wrong with the banks, protect our assets with the stock market, all these different things, the decrease in the value of the dollar, all these things. There is a solution, and that's why we're here today. So with all that being said, I would like to introduce to you Kathy and Wayne, and they're joining us here from South Carolina on the East Coast. I'm actually in Arizona right now. It's amazing how we can do things digitally on the internet these days. But they're going to tell you more about themselves, and then we're going to talk kind of more about what we just did here, and then really introduce the Liberty Dollar, which is they're owners of this company. They'll talk more about that and how we can preserve our assets with their solution that they have. So Wayne and Kathy, welcome. And sorry for that long introduction, but I really want to hit upon all these things that are going on in the world, and because I know that you have solutions for us. So go ahead, tell us more about yourselves and what's going on with you guys.
Dave, we appreciate you having us on. We thank you for the opportunity. There's a lot going on right now, and a lot of it has to do with the things you were just talking about, the bank collapses, hyperinflation. We started, well, let me give you a little history first. The Liberty Dollar was originally created back in 1998 by a man named Bernard von Nothaus. And he simply saw it as a way to give people sound money again, money that had something that honestly had intrinsic value behind it, rather than the full faith and credit of the United States government. And in so doing, he caught the attention of quite a few people. In the first 5 years, he managed to get $5 million worth of his money out into circulation. Now, in some small areas, people were actually trading with it, and others, they were just kind of hoarding it because it was worth silver, or else it was actual silver rounds, silver coins. And then he met me, and I got interested in the Liberty Dollar. And within just a couple of months, I had my entire town of Berryville, Arkansas taken at every store in town, except for well, actually, I even had Walmart taking it for a short time till they figured out they shouldn't do that. And it went over fantastic in Berryville, so fantastically that the Learning Channel called me up and said they wanted to send down a film crew to do a documentary. I said, well, if you're going to come film me, you got to go find Bernard and film him too. And Bernard had recently been to Berryville and had just had an absolute blast going from store to store, spending his money and not having to explain it to anybody because they knew what it was, And he just enjoyed that. So they sent the film crew down. They followed me around for a couple of days and got some of my local folks involved in it and went to the stores and watched the money changing hands, and they really enjoyed it. And then they caught up with Bernard, who happened at that time to be in Washington, D.C., and they filmed him spending the money. Now, one of the things that happened, partly as a result of that documentary, is about a year and a half later, well, in 2006, the government raided all of our offices, and they arrested Mr. Von Nothaus and charged him with counterfeiting. Now, his money didn't look anything like US dollars, and eventually the counterfeiting charge gave way to a different charge because they couldn't get him for counterfeiting directly. But there is an old Civil War era law, 18 U.S.C. 486, which says no one except as authorized by Congress may make, utter, or pass any coin or bar of gold, silver, or any other metal, get that, any other metal, to be used as current money. And they define current money as any item of exchange, any medium of exchange. So if you take a silver coin down to your local barbershop, say, hey, I'll give you this for a haircut. If he takes it, you have committed a federal crime. It is a felony to offer that in exchange unless that coin was authorized by the U.S. government, by Congress. Naturally, these were not. They were private mint. So that's what they finally ended up convicting him of, was essentially just using real silver in commerce, giving people real value. The government wanted him to get 27 years in federal prison. The judge said, you're off your bird. Said, this man apparently, obviously never meant to break any laws. He had bad legal advice. He was told that as long as he didn't call it a coin, he'd be okay. That was not the case. Okay. It says, the law says any coin or bar of gold, silver, or other metal, regardless of design, regardless of what you call it. It doesn't matter whether it looks like a U.S. coin or a coin of a foreign country or not. So that was bad legal advice. So he was guilty of using silver in commerce. The judge had no choice but to find him guilty in that and to sentence him for breaking the law. So
I tease him because I tell him you shouldn't call DC the District of Criminals on national television, Bernard. So
yeah,
that's what got you, buddy.
He did do that on that video. He says he was looking at a shirt. He was looking at a shirt that was marked Washington, D.C. He says, Washington District of Criminals.
Can't do that.
Yeah, probably made somebody mad. But in any event, the judge refused to give him the 27 years the government asked for, and instead gave him 3 years of probation and let him off probation after only 1 year. And to this day, he also issued paper warehouse receipts. And to this day, he is still redeeming those when people contact us, because we had the same phone number he had back then. And then we put them in touch with him to see that they get their silver. So he's got a wonderful legacy there. And that's our job. We are the legacy of the original Liberty Dollar. We started about 5 years ago with a slightly different iteration and then evolved into where we are today. What we do today is our members, and we are a private membership association, so this is a private contract between the association and its members. Our members bring their money to us. They purchase silver from us. We hold that silver in one of two different vaults. One is at Pyramid in Pennsylvania, and there we're buying chunks of silver the size of a pickup truck. And then we have a mint that works with us to make our silver rounds. And Kathy's going to show one now. These are the silver Liberty coins that we give to those who want to hold their silver in their own possession. They are 999 fine silver. The Liberty head you saw just a moment ago was Bernard's original design from the original coins. And then the QR code on the back will take you directly to a page on our website that'll show you what the spot price of silver at that moment. So you can always know exactly how much that piece of silver is worth. That is 1 troy ounce, slightly more than a standard avoirdupois ounce. And I actually had somebody mention earlier today that was surprising that it was slightly more than a regular ounce. So the beauty of this is that most of our members use us to preserve their spending power. They keep their money in their digital silver account, and when they need cash, we buy the silver back from them. We sell it to them at spot, and we buy it back at spot on the day of the transaction. So if they are buying from us today and it's at $25, and a month later they need to sell back, it's at $26, they've made some money. They've made it $1 an ounce, okay? Which hopefully will offset the inflation rate for that month. You're never sure with what's going on in the DC area right now. But money is being printed haphazardly. It's being sent all over the world. It's being dumped into money supplies, not only in our own country, but throughout the entire world. And when you overflood the money supply, inflation happens, prices go up, there's more money available. Suddenly the dollar is not worth as much and it can't buy as much. As a result, prices go up. Everything that you've got to pay for suddenly costs more. And if you don't have more money coming in, you're just in trouble. That's our purpose. We help people preserve their spending power because silver has a tendency to hold its own against every other commodity. When inflation strikes, the price of silver goes up right along with everything else. And that's our goal, is to help people keep their spending power going up right along with the rate of inflation, so that, well, look at it this way. If you have $100 today and you put it in a bank, and 6 months from now you take that $100 out, it's not going to buy as much as it would have today. But if you've got $100 today and you put it into silver, and 6 months from now you sell that silver, you're probably going to have enough money to buy just as much as you could have bought today. The same portion of an ounce of silver that would buy you a gallon of gas in 1950 will still buy a gallon of gas today. That's one of my favorite little maxims. And except for a couple of times when the price has been manipulated, once in the 80s when it was manipulated to get very high, over $80 an ounce. And then just recently, the price was manipulated to keep it low. And my personal feeling is Bank of America was the culprit there. But for whatever reason, it was kept low for a couple of years. Now it's finally starting to go back up. That's with inflation, that's what it should be doing. So our goal is to help people to preserve their spending power, but we also issue an alternative currency. And I wish I had some of the paper money here with me to show you, but I forgot to grab any. We issue our own paper warehouse receipts, and they are denominated in ounces and fractions of ounces. And they can be used just like cash and barter perfectly lawfully. It's the coins you cannot use in barter. The judge that ruled on Bernard's case specifically pointed out that warehouse receipts have a long, long history going back to the 1500s in common law of being used as negotiable instruments. So warehouse receipts are perfectly legal to be used as money or in barter. So,
and they're not mailed out to any members unless they're backed by silver first. So we just don't print them out and mail them out. They have to be backed by the silver first and foremost before we even mail those out.
And anybody who has those warehouse receipts, if they've got an ounce worth, they can redeem an ounce of silver, one of those silver coins she just showed you, at any time, simply by presenting the warehouse receipts and asking for it.
So a lot to unpack there. So when it comes to, I mean, I thank you for giving the history of all that as well. So should people be, so I have one of the coins here as well. Should we be concerned about trying to use this then? We shouldn't use this to go pay at a store. Is that what I heard you saying?
Absolutely not. No, that's a federal felony.
Got it. So the reason why we have these coins in our position would be then just to have that wealth that we're holding on ourselves. Is that what I hear you saying?
Exactly. Okay. And let me point out that under that law, 18 USC 486, the only thing you are legally allowed to do with silver or gold bullion or any other precious metal in your possession is sell it for cash. You cannot do anything else with it. I mean, you can make jewelry if you want to, but as far as a way to use it to provide for yourself, the only thing you can do is sell it for cash.
Now, and I know I have a feeling we talked earlier today that we're going to probably be jumping around, going down rabbit trails and everything like that. Let's just say everything gets shut down, right? There's all of a sudden the dollar is just, it's not worth what it's printed on, which is kind of what it is today. But let's say people know that this is not going to be worth anything. So I'm not going to pass around $1 to, pay my neighbor for his eggs because he has a chicken coop, for example. If that were to happen, if I'm working with my neighbor and saying, hey, I have a silver, dollar here, or I should say 1 ounce of silver, would you exchange this for something? If we're just doing that on the side, that shouldn't be the big deal, but we have to be careful where we do that, who we do that with. Is that, I hear you saying.
Crime. It's under current U.S. law, it's a crime.
Interesting.
Let me give you an example. There are some states that have made silver and gold legal tender, but the federal government will still arrest you if you get caught spending it.
Wow. Okay.
If it was not authorized by Congress.
Now,
wasn't aware of that. That's interesting.
Perfectly legal,
right,
and lawful, or if you
Right.
are a member of their association, you can transact business between members with it digitally.
Got it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, one of the things that I was very drawn to your company about was that that you can actually pass money back and forth through buying silver and then using the silver to buy dollars back. So, because I was concerned that, and I still am concerned that the banking system could possibly just collapse. And, we can talk about how, well, the FDIC says that they'll back up $250,000 of your deposits, right? That's not always the case. We can go down a whole rabbit trail just on that right there, because they don't have the funds to back that up, right? But I knew that, and I don't know how many people know that, but I wanted to make sure that our wealth was protected, but not only the wealth of having hard silver that you have on hand, but also the money that you need on a day to day or month to month to pay your bills, right? And so being able to work with Liberty Dollar to be able to purchase silver that you guys then have on hold, backed, by whatever, way purchase with, and then next month say, all right, now I need to pay my mortgage, I need to pay some bills, so I need to convert some of that silver, some of those ounces that I have, back to whatever, my bank account, back to pay bills. That's what intrigued me, because now I know that my money is actually protected with silver assets that you guys hold on hand in warehouses. So if something happened during that month where the bank falls apart or the dollar continues to go down in value, I know, like you said before, the cost of the precious metals and silver should rise along with the opposite effect. And then when I pass money back to pay the bills, now I actually am keeping up with what the negative stuff that's going on, right?
Let me point out that one of the services we do offer to our members is a bill payment service, and they can go online on our website, say, okay, I need to pay my mortgage, for instance, or I need to pay my utility bills, and click the button, put in the information, click the button, and Kathy cuts a check, signs it, puts it in an envelope, mails it out to pay the bill, and we deduct the value from their account. So it's that simple. If they'd rather have the money come directly to them, we can send them a check. We can send it through, I hate to mention this, PayPal.
ACH now.
We now have ACH for withdrawal, so we can send it directly back into your bank account. So there's always a way to get the money to you.
Zelle.
No, I'm not going to say that.
That's a dirty word.
It is. You can send money in through Zelle, but there are so many limits on what we can do sending out that we just dropped it for withdrawal purposes. Now that we have ACH, we don't need it.
Got it. And what we're seeing. So, I mean, because like I said, I found out about you guys a little more than a month ago, I think it was. Made sure I did my research into you guys, talked to you guys on the phone, at which you guys are always available. It's maybe when you're not available when you go away on the weekends or something like that, but you have someone answering the phones that can answer questions, and I really appreciate that. But just I want to show what's going on with silver with people, and I'm going to share my screen. Let's make sure that this can work here. If I go to share screen, and I picked the right screen, which I hope is that one. Are you guys seeing the price of silver currently where we're at right now? Are you seeing that screen?
At the moment.
Hopefully it'll come up. It shows it's sharing screen.
There we go.
There you see it. Okay. So that's where we're at. The spot price right now as it's being traded. It closed in New York, but then we open up around the rest of the side of the world. And so what I like to do is look at the last month, right? And this is the trend that we're seeing. So when I was introduced to you and I started actually doing some videos about silver, was way back down here. It was just under 22. And then the trend. So now there's never going to be a time where it's just going to shoot to the moon. We're always going to have some pullbacks and whatnot. But the trend is what we're looking at. And if we go back even 3 months, you were talking, Wayne, about it being pushed all the way down here. So it was pushed, and it was even down lower than that. But the trends, like here, there was a downtrend. It was being pushed down. But here's where we started having the banking crisis, where banks started collapsing. People started buying silver, precious metals, and it started seeing the upward trend. Then last Friday, we had some down. Friday and Monday, we had some, they were pushing it down, and then it's starting to come back again. But we're looking at the trend. And if you look at the last year, you'll see where, it was pushed all the way down here that you were talking about, Wayne, and it started going back up where it should have been, and it got pushed back down and started going back up. The trend is still upwards. So if you are buying, if you're buying silver, you're actually buying some silver with Liberty Dollar, and you're converting, like I said, you're moving it over from your bank account, and you got in, around 22, and then you start cashing it out at 25, you're very happy, right? That's good. But if you buy it, what it was on Thursday, it was just over 26, and then today it's lower than, you're not, but the overall trend is going up, and this is where your protection is. Because in all aspects of history, if we look back on it, I'm going to stop the screen share if I can figure out the right button. There we go. Whenever there's been banking issues, financial issues, stock market issues, collapse of currencies that have happened, whenever you've had a currency that was dominant for many years as the world currency, it has lifespan. The dollar now, we've had its lifespan for, what's it been, 100 plus years? It's coming up, on a century. So we're kind of towards the end of that lifespan as it is. So it to change it wouldn't surprise us one bit. But as that happens, the value of that currency drops, and then the precious metals then go up in value. We've seen that across history. So if that continues this trend, the price of silver and gold should continue to go up. That brings me to the question, Wayne, and Kathy, regarding, you mentioned about, this being backed by silver, the currency that you guys, the paper currencies, not currencies, but I should say the certificates, right? Back in 1971, before 1971, our US dollar was backed by gold. Well, then, Richard Nixon, they decided that we're going to temporarily suspend that and go just to based on it was a petrodollar based on oil. And it was the emergency that's still going on, 52 years now. We are starting to hear, in fact, there's bills in Congress that they're trying to get back to a US based dollar on the gold standard.
Right.
If that were to happen, and as if this continues to happen, this collapse that's going on, it would make sense for them to go that direction, so we don't continue to have worthless money. If that were to happen, what do you see happening with the price of gold, hence also with the price of silver?
Well, if the government were to go back on a gold standard, they're going to most likely set a price. They're going to set a value for gold. And while it'll fluctuate to some degree, there's going to be inherently some control on how much it rises or falls. That's the whole point of having it on a standard. To give you an example, the dollar was at one point specified as a certain percentage of an ounce of silver. I forget the exact numbers anymore. But for over 150 years, there was no inflation, none. that dollar was, or well, it was over 100 years, that dollar was stable. It wasn't until the infamous Jekyll Island under Woodrow Wilson, when the Federal Reserve was created, that the dollar suddenly began to be inflated. At that point, it was no longer tied directly to that specific amount of silver or gold. All right. You mentioned it went off the gold standard in 71. What you might want to research is the fact that as far as the people were concerned, we were off the gold standard long before that. It was the international settlements that were still on the gold standard, and that's what they took us off of in 71. John Kennedy tried to bring back silver certificates in 1962, and weeks later he was shot dead. And the very first thing that happened when Johnson, his successor, took office was Executive Order 11111110 that brought back silver certificates was rescinded immediately. So there's a concerted effort to keep money fiat, because as long as it's fiat, the oligarchy in control of whatever government there is able to determine what money is worth, what people can do with it, what they can buy, what they can't buy. Now they want to bring in the central bank digital currency and have even more control over what we do. You mentioned financial collapse. I believe we're looking at an impending financial collapse, but I don't think it will be a total collapse. In a total collapse, there will be no money of any kind, and we'll be back to trading axe heads for eggs. Okay. Which I'm okay with if it comes down to that. But the stability of governments requires some form of currency. So even if we see the dollar drop to little or nothing, the new central bank digital currency will come in and be heralded as the savior of finance. And we'll still be able to sell silver, and we'll have to accept CBDC. And when you want to pay your mortgage, we're going to have to give you back CBDC for it. There's no way around that if they get it in place. My hope is that enough of the Christian people out there are praying, and we're going to put a stop to that.
Yeah.
That's where we need to be.
Agreed. I'm right there with you on that. And you had mentioned about the Fed. So when the Fed was created in, was it 1913 with
1913, yes.
the whole thing with Jekyll's Island, and you can do some research on that. And everyone thinks, a lot of people think, I should say, that the Fed is part of the government. It's not. It's a bunch of private banks that have come together to basically create our money as a private institution, when it should be our government doing it, not the private banks.
It's not even an American corporation. It's not owned by Americans at all.
Right.
All of the money that it earns goes to London.
There is some deep rabbit trails we can go down with that one. Yes. You're exactly right. And and that's, I mean, there's yeah. I mean, again, that's what I mentioned. If we went down that rabbit trail, we'd be on that one just on all night. But in fact, some of these, people talk about conspiracy theories and all that, and we could really change it over to conspiracy truth. So we start you put all the dots together, and you're like, well, wait a second, what's really been going on? And it makes people, so you start thinking, you start digging deeper, and you find out all this stuff. And it's pretty crazy. I was a history major. I went to college, I was a history major. And what I thought was history, what I was learning in college, was not the real history. I've been learning history as I get older, researching what really happened and learning from good people like you guys. So yes, no, we can go deep on that one. But that brings up the question, Wayne, that's another thing that's going on, that there's talk of trying to get rid of the Fed. And that would have, we could really throw a caveat to this conversation if that were to happen. And, so all these different things that would affect the price of silver, because that's kind of really what we're talking about here. And we're all these things in a roundabout way talking back to silver and the value of that metal that we're holding. What's your thoughts on that?
If enough patriots get into political power in the United States, there is a possibility that the Fed could be shut down. All it takes is an executive order. Congress can shut it down, or the president can. I was told once that I believe it was Donald Trump made a comment about getting rid of the Federal Reserve, and somebody asked him, said, well, what would you replace it with? And his response was, if you cut out a cancer, do you replace it with something else?
Right.
And I thought that was just so true, that no, we don't need to replace it with anything. We need to go back on a precious metal standard. We need to go back on the sound money program, where the money that the people have, belongs to the people. It doesn't belong to government. It belongs to us.
Right.
And that's what the Liberty Dollar does. It belongs to the people. The money that the government issues, they want to make us believe is theirs and that they have control over it. The fact is, it's your labor that produces the money. Money can be based on gold, silver, coffee, seed wheat, rice, anything. But when you get down to the very bottom of the chain, it's the labor of the people working that produces the money that goes into the economy. Okay. Now, the employers and the governments may hoard a store of value like gold, silver, or rice or whatever in order to pay those people, but it's still their labor that is producing the money that goes into the society, into the economy. Without that, there is no society, there is no economy. So I don't see any great harm in a removal of the Federal Reserve. I think it would be a great blessing to our country. I think it'd be a blessing to the world, if you want to know the truth. It frustrates me. As I was a kid growing up, we always heard about the evil Russians, those rotten, terrible Russians. What's Vladimir Putin doing today? He's got his country back on the gold standard. Okay. He's outlawed GMO foods, outlawed them. You can't even bring in a genetically modified fertilizer into that country now. It's a crime to bring it in. He has spoken up more for Christianity than any politician in this country has done since probably Kennedy. Okay. I mean, what happened? The world turned upside down and I didn't notice.
Yeah. It's become bizarre world.
Yes, it has.
Yeah. And I was just having this conversation with my wife a couple of days ago. We've always seen ourselves as being the good guys. And now it's like the opposite. We're actually not the good guys. No. Until we all need to realize, and I shouldn't say, it's not us, but it's our country and who's running the country that's causing that. And we, the God-fearing patriots, Christian conservatives that believe that we're not doing the right things. We're not heading the right direction in this government, this country. We need to change that. And you need to step up as patriots, like you're saying.
That's right.
Exactly right. And I'm right there with you on all that. And I believe that there's a lot of stuff that's happening in our country right now that is waking up the masses and realizing that this is not a Democrat versus a Republican issue. This is a good against evil issue. It's a spiritual battle.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that I'm trying to do in video form, pushing messages out to people to get them to see what's really going on in this world and do my part, as you guys are doing your part, to not only wake up the masses, but protect ourselves and to move forward in the right direction and use our skills, how we're blessed with them, to make this world a better place.
You know who Kevin Sorbo is, the actor, played Hercules years ago?
Yes, I do.
Kevin is actually on our board of directors, and he is our celebrity spokesperson. And sometime back, he made a statement that just resonated with me and Kathy. He said, "I'm not here to wake up the sheep. I'm here to wake up the other lions."
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what we got to do. We got to wake up the lions among us who are willing to stand up and roar and say, no, we're not going to allow Satan to steal our country. We're not going to let Satan steal our children, our lives, our silver, anything, our children.
Especially our children, because
we're not going to let that happen.
We see some of the stuff that's happening to our children right now.
Get down on their knees and pray and let God know, yes, God, we support you and we're with you and we need your help.
And any Christian that's read the book, we all know how it ends. So
exactly,
can't live in fear.
Yeah, we know how it ends.
Right.
We've had people ask us, aren't you afraid the government's going to come and blow you away? And I'll look at them and say, you know what? They already threw me in federal prison once. So that's the worst they could do to me. They said they could kill you. I said, yeah, then I go to heaven. Yeah. What's the problem? You know?
We know where we're going
next. Kathy here without me, but you know, she's a tough gal. She'd surprise you. So you can't enslave a free man. I'm quoting Robert Heinlein, great science fiction author. You can't enslave a free man. The most you can do is kill him. I refuse to be a slave.
Right.
Hey Dave, it's Wayne again, and I just wanted to touch base with you on something. Kathy pointed out after our interview last night that I had mentioned casually that I'd been to federal prison, but I didn't go into any detail or explain. I've talked about it so many times on so many different interviews that I guess I kind of think that everybody knows, but of course your audience is new, and I wanted to clarify. Back in 2006, well, and I started in 2003, I operated a bank on the internet. It was called MyISIS, and we issued digital money orders on behalf of clients who put money into the system. It was perfectly lawful and had a great success for several years. And in 2006, about the same time that the government cracked down on the Liberty Dollar, they raided my office. I had actually left the business by that time and turned it over to my ex-wife, who put her boyfriend in charge of it. And he was going around telling people that if they put their money in that bank, they could hide it from the IRS. Unfortunately, she never took it out of my name, so when the IRS got all upset about it, I'm the one that came after. My attorney, because the government offered me a plea bargain that would allow me to have probation and not do any prison time, my attorney, who was an idiot, advised me to accept the plea bargain so that I could go home and take care of my, at the time, 9-year-old daughter. I agreed to the plea bargain, and then when we got to sentencing, the judge said, probation, no way, no, not going to happen. And he sentenced me to 5 years in federal prison, and I did the time. Now, ironically, at the same time I was raided, Liberty Dollar was raided, eGold was raided, eBullion was raided, a bunch of other companies were all raided. Out of all of us, I'm the only one who agreed to take a plea bargain, and I'm the only one that went to prison. Everybody else went to trial, which I should have done, and ended up with nothing more than probation, including Bernard von Notehouse, founder of the Liberty Dollar. I did the time. I got out in 2013 and have been having a great time since then. And then in 2018, I got a phone call one day, and it was from an attorney who was reviewing a case of one of my former bank's clients, and because it was connected to my case, he read through my case. He called me up, he said, Wayne, are you aware that the judge suppressed evidence that would have completely cleared you? I said, I'm not surprised. It turns out that 4 times I had given speeches at different events about our bank and what it was, and in each and every one I had said, we cannot help you hide your money from the IRS. We are a bank and we have to file certain reports. Had those videos been introduced into evidence, and they had been provided to the judge by the prosecution, had they been introduced into evidence, that would have completely thrown their case out the window. All they had was 2 people who had agreed to say that I told them that they could hide their money. And that public statement, so commonly made, the attorney said would have blown the case right out and thrown it out. I didn't know that at the time. I was an idiot and took a plea bargain. Trust me, I never would again. But that's the basic story, and I just wanted to give you an explanation you can attach to let people know that no, they're not dealing with some massive federal criminal. The charge against me was conspiracy to defraud the United States, because they said I was trying to help people hide money from the IRS to avoid paying taxes. That's my story, and hope this helps. Dave, you have a great day, and we appreciate the interview and the exposure, and look forward to working with you for a long time. Have a good one.
Right, and this is just one of those things, as I drop my silver dollar, that's, or I should say silver coin, that's one of my, that's one of the things I'm totally on the same page with you on there. I mean, we're on the same page a lot with what you're talking about here. But yeah, we can't sit back. We gotta be out there and do the things we need to do. And the reason why we're on here talking today about, protecting ourselves with this silver, I mean, there's so many different ways that we can, move forward in the right direction. This is just one of them. And, we're talking about a lot of different things right here. And I love for what you guys stand for. And I think it's probably one of the things that, brought us together. Some people say, law of attraction, whereas I believe that it's God making those connections. There's no coincidences.
I do too.
And,
Yes.
Being brought together for reasons of his purpose, not for our own. With that being said, and I know a lot of people are, want to know more about the company. How do we know that if we're doing this digital thing, that you mentioned that the silver's being stored in the warehouse and it's protected and all that. Well, what happens if the government gets involved again? What was the government comes and says, hey, we notice Wayne and Kathy, they find some technicality, you're doing something wrong. They shut you down. They're going to seize your assets. Now everyone who has money that's in the digital assets of Liberty Dollar, all of a sudden you're out of luck. Is that something we should be concerned about? Is it something you've thought about? Where can we put the safety in people's minds to know that something like that would not happen?
Naturally, we have to think about it, Dave. And here's my response when people ask me that question. We are doing exactly what the judge that ruled on Bernard's case said was legal, and what the Supreme Court has even said was legal. The warehouse receipts are perfectly lawful. When you have silver in your digital account, those are digital warehouse receipts that you can transfer between yourself and other members. You can send money back and forth that way. The paper warehouse receipts are perfectly lawful. The digital are perfectly lawful. The silver, we have to tell everybody point blank, no, you cannot use the physical silver as money because that's against the law. We have a few caveats we have to give, like the use of the Liberty Dollar does not in any way absolve you of any obligation you may or may not have to pay or collect taxes. I have to say that to people all the time, okay? Because otherwise they're going to come in and say, oh, you let people think they could hide their money and wouldn't have to pay taxes. No, we didn't. We tell everybody. It's on our website. It's in our terms of service. The use of Liberty Dollar does not absolve you of any obligation you may or may not have to pay or collect taxes. And that's all we can do, is make sure people are aware of that. We are a private membership association. All of our business is done by a private contract between us and our members, and the United States government is prohibited by law from interfering in a private contract. So we're pretty well protected. Okay. Now, should they go after the silver somehow at some point? They did that in Bernard's day, and then the judge ordered it all returned to its rightful owners. That's why Bernard is still redeeming those warehouse receipts today. I don't anticipate that happening for a couple of reasons. Number one, cryptocurrencies are running rampant, and the government can't even figure out what they're doing with their cryptocurrencies. If they really wanted to, they could figure out what we're doing. Okay. It's none of their business, but they could figure it out. And we're not big enough to be a threat. We're simply not a threat to the government today. Okay. We could easily hit hundreds of millions in circulation. We're still not going to be a threat to anybody, because all we're really doing is helping people hold their money in silver. Okay. They don't have to have us to do that. They can go to anywhere and buy silver and do that themselves. But we just make it more convenient and a quicker and easier way to cash out. We also, because nowhere else you're going to buy it at spot without a big premium on top of it. Okay. We sell it at spot. We buy it back at spot. That way there's no premium. There's no discount when we buy back. We're going to give you the spot value. You're going to get it for the spot value when you buy it. That's how we keep it simple.
And that was a big thing too, because I know in the past I've bought silver to have on hand as some of our assets. And when we purchase it, there's, like you said, there's a $5-6 markup on the silver. And then I said, well, let me see if we were to, through the same company, if they were to then, we were to say, I need this money, I need to sell it back. When you go to sell them back, now they're that much money under the spot price. So it's going the opposite direction,
right?
$4 or $5. So you have to have a raise of $8 to $10 above the price when you bought it at before you ever even make a profit on it.
Right.
It's absolutely ridiculous. Who's making the money? The middleman that's doing the sales to you. With your system, that's the one thing what I love about it, because I said, well, let me see if I were to, and in my Liberty Dollar account, I went and said, if I were to redeem silver, what does it cost the same price that you're at the spot? If I were actually, like you mentioned, I want to sell some of my silver ounces to send the US dollar money to, like you said, to a bill pay or to my bank account, that sort of thing. It's the same thing. It's at the spot price.
Right.
So that's, most people don't realize
That's
that.
what we do. We did at one time had a small premium. We charged $2 premium, and then Pyromet gave us a better deal, so we passed that along to our members. No premium. Okay. Since we don't charge a premium, we're not going to charge a discount on the buyback. We're not going to cut how much we're going to give. What we do, we make our money on the little fees that we charge. Now, there's a $5 fee when you buy silver. There's a $5 fee when you sell silver. There's a $3 fee when you use bill pay. There's some other little fees involved. We have, they call us the PayPal of the silver movement, because we have buttons you can put on your website to sell with Liberty Dollar. And incidentally, for some reason, PayPal loves us. We don't know why. It's not our fault, I promise, but they love us to pieces. And when you put our button on your website, if somebody comes to your website and wants to buy something and they're not a member of LDFA, they can elect to use guest checkout. And guess what? They're paying you through PayPal, but the PayPal transaction buys the silver that goes into your account at LDFA.
That's really cool.
We have several buttons. We've got a shopping cart you can put on your website and load it with your various items. We even have a WooCommerce plugin for people who sell with WooCommerce on WordPress. We're looking at building other plugins for Shopify, Etsy, things like that. So there's going to be more coming. Our goal is to help people preserve their spending power and put Liberty Dollar warehouse receipts, silver certificates into circulation in small communities. Because an interesting thing about the warehouse receipts, when I did it in Berryville, one of the things we noticed is all the mom and pop stores, the small businesses, suddenly they started making more money, because people who had Liberty Dollars would come to them rather than go to Walmart. They would come to them rather than go across town or the next town over to Target. They didn't want to go spend at the big box stores. They wanted to spend it with their friends and neighbors. Well, guess what? The same thing happens with our Liberty Dollars. If merchants in a small community or in any town start accepting Liberty Dollars, they're going to see people coming through their door they haven't seen come through that door in years.
And that's as long as it's not paid with the coin, it's paid through the accounts and through the buttons you're talking about. Got it.
And the merchant can turn around and send in the warehouse receipts and collect either the cash value or the silver, whichever they opt to choose.
Okay.
Now they can also, right now we're having our app rebuilt because the one we got isn't working quite right. But there will shortly be an app that you can have on your smartphone, and it'll be just like a point of sale system. You can transfer money from your phone to the merchant's phone. Boom, there's your purchase paid for. It's no worse than tapping your card on the terminal.
Right.
So,
and I know you guys are in the process too of having a bank account tied to your Liberty Dollar account. I know it's going to take some time to get to that, but can you talk a little bit more about that? Because then we don't even have to pay the transfer the money, right?
We're working on setting up our own credit union.
Right.
And our members would have accounts in that credit union, a checking account, which means it would make it easier for them to deposit money. And they would have a debit card. And that debit card would mean that even at 2:00 in the morning, once we get this all set up, if you need money on your debit card, say you're in a 24-hour Walmart, you're standing there trying to check out with oil because your car needs oil and you're out of money on your card, go on your phone, go to the website. I need to transfer $50 to my card right now. Boom.
Because right now I manually do withdrawals, and I'm sorry, but I'm not up at 2 a.m. to manually
Right.
But once we get this, it'll be automated, and boom, you click the submit button, the money's on your card right then, and you can go ahead and complete that purchase.
And when do you see that coming to full fruition?
We're looking at anywhere from 4 to 6 months, possibly a little longer, but we've got to jump through a lot of hoops. Number one, we've got to reach a certain level of membership, and we've got to have a certain amount of cash reserve. We've got to hold meetings, which we're getting ready to start doing with something similar to what we're doing right now with Zoom meetings or whatever. If we can't do it on video, we'll do it on audio with a call-in number. But we're going to start holding monthly meetings so that all of our members can come on and learn what we're doing, what we're up to, ask questions, talk to us, interact with us. because those are all things we have to do in order to have an association-based credit union.
Oh, and be compliant.
Right.
Got it. Well, you guys have a lot of things in the works, which is incredible. Continue. I mean, it's already great the way it is now, and you guys are going to continue to get better and better, especially as we're getting the word out here. And there's more things I want to cover. I know we're getting close to an hour. I don't want to go more than that. But just a couple of things that we didn't touch upon yet. One of the big things that people share with me was, I'd rather have the hard silver assets on hand because, I don't trust, it being digitally. And we hear, some of these pundits or, people that, do this for a living, and they're just, kind of counseling people to, how to, do their, put their assets by this, whatever, financial advisors, whatever you want to call them. But, a lot of them to say that, hey, you want to make sure that you have the physical assets of silver on hand. What would you say to those people that, with this, like we were talking about how we can move our money around to have them in silver and to pay bills and all that. Should people be concerned about it being in digital form, even though you have the physical assets of silver in a warehouse? We could just talk a little bit more about that, because I know that some people were worried about that.
No, they shouldn't be concerned about that at all. What they should be concerned about is if they want the physical silver, we're probably not the place to come to get it. Okay. You can go to a coin dealer and get it cheaper than what you're going to pay us for it when it comes down to the shipping and the insurance that we put on it and everything else. Okay. We had several tubes of silver coins were stolen out of a postal service box while it was in the possession of the postal service just this last week. And so now everything's going out with insurance. That insurance is going to cost a little money. So while we're not putting a premium on it, they can probably buy silver coins cheaper from a local coin dealer and maybe even a couple places online than what they're going to get our silver liberties for. But our silver liberties are the top quality silver coins. I mean, and we know they are. So that's a benefit of having ours. The other thing I would say is we are here for the people who simply need to be able to move their money in and out of precious metals quickly. That's our purpose. And if you need to secure your money for a few weeks, a few months, even a year, a few years, whatever, that's what we're here for. You need it. It's going to be there for you to get your money back. And we're going to buy that silver right back because somebody else is waiting to buy it as soon as we buy yours. We're going to turn right around and sell it back to somebody else. We do this all day long. It's just the way it works.
Yeah.
Now, you showed the spot price graph a while ago. I sit and watch those graphs all the time because I've got to be able to, within reason, try to predict when silver going to be down, because that's when I buy more reserve silver. I look at Kathy and say, get the money ready. Got to send some money, get a wire ready. And then we make the call. We buy the silver. We wire the money. Boom. It's in our account at Pyromet, which means we have it in our members' accounts ready for them.
But on that question too, we're not financial advisors. So
Right.
if you'd ever want to redeem the silver, that's totally up to you as a member.
Right. We're more than happy to let you have your silver. I'm not trying to talk you out of it. I'm just saying if what you're after is the physical bullion, we may not be where you want to be. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
And
you mentioned this earlier, and then we didn't expand upon it because we just went to different directions. I'm the one that I spoke to you on the phone earlier today, and I said, "Did you know, Wayne, that I had a different silver coin from something I purchased a couple of years ago compared to the ones I got from you guys recently, and I weighed them on my scale, and the other one was 1.0 ounce, and then yours was 1.1 ounce." And I said, "Do you know that yours is 1.1? It's actually a little bigger than the regular coins that people are buying?" And what was your answer to me?
my answer is that's because we use the troy ounce, which is slightly bigger than the avoirdupois ounce. The avoirdupois ounce is the ounce that everybody's used to. Okay. And a lot of mints, when they put out an ounce coin, it's an avoirdupois ounce. It's not a troy ounce. They'll tell you it is. The spot price is based on a troy ounce. So if you're paying spot for an avoirdupois ounce, you're losing a slight bit of silver value there.
Yeah. You're
actually losing a little money. And there are some good mints out there that use a troy ounce, and there are some unscrupulous ones. And there's also a lot of counterfeiters out there, because it is not hard to get a die made, and anybody with a 100-ton press can strike a coin. Okay. And 100-ton presses are not that hard to get your hands on.
Yeah.
Well, if you're striking silver coins, and even if they're a little small, people look at them, they can't really tell just by eye it's a little small, but you may be selling a coin that's only 9/10 of an ounce, and that means you're making 1/10 of an ounce or 2/10 of an ounce if it's a troy ounce you're basing it on every time you sell a coin.
Which is why when I told my wife when she got back from her treatment before, and I said, I was talking to Kathy Wayne earlier today, and I mentioned this conversation to her, and I said, so for every 10 coins that you're buying from this other one here, you're losing a whole coin.
A coin. Yes.
And I'm like, that's not good. So, I mean, you mentioned, there's all these extra costs now in getting the silver from, if we wanted to redeem the silver and the hard asset coins. Still, I think it's a better deal to come through you guys, just because, I mean, that right there, because that's $25 for every 10 coins you're losing at the current price right now.
Right, so, it is, yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to ask you guys a couple more questions before we call it a day here, or night, since it's getting late there, your time. Tell us more about, so I know you guys have these things called branch offices, and people can even start their own branch. Tell us more a little about that. What's the whole purpose of it? How is that going to be growing, or how do you see that growing with Liberty Dollar Financial?
Well, our service centers and branch offices, the whole purpose is, in the beginning, is to offer bank-like services for people who use the Liberty Dollar in the community, a way for them to convert FRNs to Liberty Dollars, to convert paper Liberty Dollars to digital to paper, basically like depositing money to the bank and withdrawing money from the bank when you go from paper to digital and back. They would be instrumental in helping to redeem the silver, things like that. They would also, we have some things we will set the branches up so that they can have other streams of profit, you might say, to help them survive and pay their bills. And now we're also looking at going into a little bit of the parallel economy. We're looking for small manufacturers, craftspeople, et cetera, who have merchandise, new merchandise, or good used merchandise that we or our branch offices can purchase using Liberty Dollar silver certificates, and then turn around and sell to their local members, again, using Liberty Dollars. We'll buy it at wholesale, sell it at retail, just like any other business. And the idea is to get more and more local folks involved in Liberty Dollars.
And we even have a marketplace where members can put up their own things for sale for Liberty Dollars. You
can put up whatever you've got for sale on our website, within reason.
As long as it's legal.
As long as it's legal, yes. Right. And we have, you can list, if you're a merchant who accepts Liberty Dollars, we have a place to list you on our website so that people can find you. And that's actually starting to spread a little bit now. We have what we call the marketing tab on our website, and there's some neat little cards you can print out there that if you go to an merchant and say, "Do you take Liberty Dollars?" They say no, hand them this little card. It's got several reasons why Liberty Dollars are good for them and for the local community. And then it leads to a website, whylibertydollars.com, that gives them even more reasons why Liberty Dollars are good for them and the local community. And then it's got a place for your information so that if they sign up, they're your referral. And of course, about our referral program. Our referral program pays 5% of every fee we earn from people you refer, 3 levels deep. So you make a commission off the people you refer, the people they refer, and the people they refer. So it's not going to make you rich, but it can add up to a little extra money in your account every month.
Yeah, and especially as this is still so new, really, and there's so much room for growth that you could be in the beginning stages of sharing this out to the masses, which is one of the reasons I'm out here to help people. I want people to feel, be able to rest at night knowing that their assets are secured in a safe place, that they're fully diversified, that they don't have to worry about some of the things that are happening around the country, around the world, right? So that's my drive. But yes, it is nice to get those kickbacks as I'm sharing this to all the people. And so if you are watching this and you want to set up a Liberty Dollar account, you want to start going, then down below in the description, I'll have the link to that so you guys can start and look into setting it up. It's free to set up an account with Liberty Dollar, and you can, again, just continue to research, get more information here, although we covered a lot in this call here today. But then share it with
folks,
others.
Let me throw this out there.
Yeah.
If you go to the website, LDFA.nl, LDFA for Liberty Dollar Financial Association.nl, that stands for the Netherlands. That's where our server is. If you go to the website and you sign up because you saw it on this show, let us know. We'll make sure that Dave gets the referral.
That's what he was saying. He's going to put his link up too.
I know, but just in case they
There's a manual way of doing it
before the
too.
link
Yeah.
gets up there.
So if you want, definitely, if you want to contact them with the 888 number that's on their website, they have their contact numbers. Call them directly. You can email them. But yeah, definitely, if you talk to them and you set up your account without the link, then if you mention my name, then that ties it together. I appreciate that because, again, we're all trying to help each other out here. And then share it with others. I mean, once you get your account, you'll see there's the affiliate programs right in there. They have the links, and they have links to different videos that, like we're talking about here, about different things that are happening around the world, why Liberty Dollar and all that. And then you can share that with people. And then those videos are tied to your account. So when you have people that you share it with, they sign up, then you get paid as well. And this is the best part. What I love about it is you're not paying us referral fees in US dollar, you're paying us in
silver.
So that's what you want to be getting paid in. And I love what you guys, so I didn't even know about your plans as far as, other websites like Etsy and things like that, because I do business on Etsy. It's one of the things, we have our own product business, Etsy, Amazon. And I have my own courses that I sell as well. And so I'm going to get with you and try to figure out how to set up a payment button to get paid. Because, through Liberty Dollar. But if you can, because one of the things people pay with is PayPal. So if I can get PayPal indirectly, then Liberty Dollar, that's awesome to get paid that direction. Any last things you want to share? I know, Kathy, we didn't get to hear much about you because I know Wayne he's a world of knowledge.
Sometimes I forget to shut up and let her talk.
Okay, I know this is kind of off topic, but we do have a beneficiary form for our members, because heaven forbid anything happened to one of our members. We did lose one about a couple of years ago, and unfortunately he didn't have any living relatives or anything like that. So we do encourage people, especially if you have large amounts of money stored, please fill out that beneficiary form so we can make sure that
we know who gets your money when that sad eventuality occurs.
Right. And I'm glad you said that, because I'm sure that I did not fill out that form yet. So I gotta make sure
it's under your profile.
Okay. I'll get in there after this call and make sure I make that happen. So Wayne and Kathy, thank you again for your time tonight. It was a world full of knowledge. We went down a lot of different areas. Like I said, some of those topics we can cover hours in itself. But if like we said, if you have any questions for them, you can, first of all, you can put comments below this video, point you in the right direction with that. Any comments or things that you want to, mention, just feel free to put them below the video. They have the 888 number that is on their website. You can contact them directly. And then also have the links down below this page for you to create your own Liberty Dollar account. And again, it's free to create the account. The only thing that you're going to want to do eventually is to buy silver, and then, however way you want it, whether it be digitally to be able to manage the way, use it to pay different bills, or to hold it for, long term, or to redeem it in hard silver. You have a lot of different choices with that. And there's so many, there's a lot of more things. There's a lot more things that I would love to be able to talk to you guys about that is on your site that we didn't talk about, but we can just save that for another conversation, because I know there's a lot more stuff that's on there than we even talked about here tonight. So thanks again, and I appreciate your time. You guys, if you like this video, please make sure you like it, share it with somebody that you think this could help a lot of people, right? So you have the share link, share it with people that it would help with. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, why not? Subscribe, hit the bell button so you get notified next time we go live. Like I said, this is my first time going live with this channel, so it's all new to me. But if you want to be notified when we go live, you need to hit that bell notification. So guys, thanks again. Have a wonderful night, and I look forward to continue to learn and grow with you guys, and continue to just all these different conversations that I know.
Dave, send us the link to the video, and we'll put it on our website as well.
Awesome, I appreciate it. I'll make sure I get it all cut, and just so we take the junk at the beginning out, and then I'll get it over to you. And
sounds good.
Sounds great. You guys have a wonderful night. We'll talk again soon. Take care for now.
God bless. Have a great evening.
God bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.